Welcome to Zombie Strains, where we watch all the zombie movies in chronological order. The year is 1961. The movie is Dr. Blood's Coffin.
You know, I've seen people act like that in pictures. What do they call them, zombies or something?
Zombie.
What's a zombie?
Just what is a zombie?
Well, a zombie, there's, Mr. Bill is the living dead.
They are the living dead.
Get the zombies.
It's an army of zombies no armies could stand. Because a zombie has no will of his own.
What is wrong? What is wrong?
Hey, everybody. I'm John.
I'm Andy.
I'm Brad.
How you guys doing today?
Excited to discuss Dr. Blood's Coffin. That's what I'm doing.
Are you energized by a competently made film starring professional actors?
Yeah.
Like it was like ice water in the desert, for God's sakes.
Producer Brad can be generous. I mean, he made us walk through the valley of Plan 9 from Outer Space and Teenage Zombies, but he rewards persistence, I think, because we got a good one this time.
I feel like he's just rewarding us enough to keep us from rebelling, you know, and then it's back to the
it's
to
the
dumps.
carrot he dangles in front of us.
Yes, exactly. All right. I have one thing. So, producer Brad, you may cut this, but it's stuck in my head, and if I don't do it, it's going to be there forever. So I just like to apologize ahead of time. Here's the dad joke I came up with about this movie. Hey, Andy, what are we watching today?
We're watching Dr. Blood's Coffin, John.
I'm sorry to hear that. I maybe he should go to the doctor, but what are we watching? Okay, that's it. You can cut that, Brad, if you think that is so, like, your expression was so blank, Brad, that, like...
I was trying to figure out how to go to commercial in the middle of that.
I just couldn't do it. I told it to my wife. She goes, "Oh, no." I'm like, I can't get it out of my head.
I didn't get it. I'm sorry. It went
No,
over
that's
my
right,
head.
because he's coughing like coughing.
Oh, you know, I botched my response. You should have queued me up or prepped me in advance.
Yeah, I should have. That was a debacle.
Yes.
That's what that was. Just an absolute debacle.
It's,
so anyway.
It's like the flying fortress that crashed in Invisible Invaders. That's what that joke was.
Yes.
The one aiming for the giant X on the mountainside, if I recall correctly.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
So, hey, you know, I always throw out some content warnings as appropriate before we talk about movies. You know, there's not really too much here. There's some kind of era... familiar for the era sexism that I'm sure we're going to talk about because it manifests in a couple of plot points. And this is kind of a gorier movie than the last ones we've talked about, although it's still 1961, so I don't think any of us were too shocked. But yeah, this is nothing too concerning.
But I'll add to that, in England, it received an X certificate, meaning you had to be 16 or over to see it, and it only got that after a couple of cuts to it. And no one knows what the cuts were.
Yeah, I'm curious. I was reading some contemporary reviews of this, and they were all kind of bagging on it for being like, they described it as like nonstop gore. And boy, have times changed if this movie was nonstop gore. I mean, there's
for
like
real.
a little gore every 30 minutes. But
yes, so it's got some pretty tasty stuff at the end.
Yes, it does. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Brad, you want to talk to us about what was going on in the world of film when this thing came out and tell us about the people behind it?
Dr. Blood's Coffin was released in 1961. It's a British horror film and was released in England first on January 31st. It was released in the U.S. in April of 1961, and that's the same month that The Guns of Navarone and the Japanese film Yojimbo were released.
I loved The Guns of Navarone. No, I didn't. I loved Force 10 from Navarone.
Yeah, I went through a phase where I read all that guy's books. Is that Alistair MacLean?
Yeah, my grandma read all his books. I don't know how you want to take that, Andy, but yeah.
Okay, thanks, John. Thanks. Way to throw me under the bus. All right, I'm old. Okay, I'm old.
Sidney Furie directed Dr. Blood's Coffin. He has directed over 50 movies and episodes of television. He is Canadian, but moved to England to better his film career. He didn't focus solely on horror films. When he got to England, he made a comedy and a musical the same year as Dr. Blood's Coffin. But his breakout film was 1965's The Ipcris Files, starring Michael Caine. You guys heard of it?
Yeah.
I have not.
It's produced by Harry Saltzman, who was one of the two guys who produced the Bond films, and this was to be another Bond-like franchise. The film won the BAFTA Award for the British film in color, for 1965, and it was also nominated for Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival. In 1966, he directed the Western film The Appaloosa, starring Marlon Brando and John Saxon. In 1972, he directed Lady Sings the Blues, the biopic on Billie Holiday, starring Diana Ross.
Yeah.
He directed 3 of the Iron Eagle movies, if you recall those, with Lou Gossett Jr. in the 80s.
Oh, for sure.
Including the first one. Now, those are a few of his successes. Fury had some misses as well, and he acknowledges those in a quote that's attributed to him on the internet, which is, "Filmmakers are like gunslingers. You don't win every duel." So let's hit some of the duels that he lost.
I see a big one. Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
Well, before that, he did The Jazz Singer with Neil Diamond. And he was nominated for a Razzie for the worst director, even though he was fired from that movie and didn't finish it. But he also directed Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
He directed a movie as late as 2023.
Yeah, he's still alive.
Wow.
Brad, you didn't get him to come on the podcast? Come on.
Yeah, Sydney, if you're out there, we're open.
Nicholas Roeg was the camera operator. He went on to a very successful directing career. He's best known for the films Walkabout, The Man Who Fell to Earth, starring David Bowie, and The Witches, starring Angelica Houston.
I've seen all of those.
Yeah, he's a pretty good director.
This is the whiplash from the Dead one to this is just killing me.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
And we have 2 people coming up who won Academy Awards, too, and we haven't hit them yet. Nathan Duran wrote the original script, which was rewritten by James Kelly and Peter Martin, who adapted it to better fit England. Duran started his film career as an art director, and he won an Academy Award for his work on the 1942 film How Green Was My Valley.
Oh, wow.
He moved on to directing in the 50s, and he was known for sci-fi and fantasy films, including The Deadly Mantis, The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, and Attack of the 50-Foot Woman.
Aha.
Oh, hey.
His last film was in 1973, The Boy Who Cried Werewolf.
I'm not familiar.
But it's a great title.
That is a good title.
It is.
Les Bowie is credited for special effects. He was a well-known matte painter and model maker. His matte paintings can be seen in the Hammer films The Quatermass Experiment and The Curse of Frankenstein. He won an Academy Award with the special effects team for Superman in 1978. And the memorable piece he did was the Fortress of Solitude that you see from the outside.
Oh.
That's his matte painting.
Oh, cool. You know, The Quatermass Experiment, and there's a sequel to it, or maybe that's the sequel, I can't remember, is on my radar as an interesting old Hammer film to watch when in my, spare time.
When I look at the credits for the people of this era, so many of them, especially when we're in England, these English films, they were
Hammer and
appeared in
Bond,
them.
I bet is, yeah.
Now the cast, all the casts are over 35, including 3 born in the 1800s.
Oh, wow.
Keiron Moore plays Dr. Peter Blood. He had both lead and supporting roles in many British movies like Mantrap and Satellite in the Sky. He was also in the cast of Day of the Triffids. Hazel Court plays Nurse Linda Parker. Her breakout role was in the Hammer film The Curse of Frankenstein. Her other films include The Raven and The Mask of the Red Death. She was also in the penultimate Twilight Zone episode called Fear. She wrote an autobiography called Horror Queen, and her book claims she is the only actress to have worked with all the major horror leading men: Peter Cushing, Boris Karloff, Vincent Price, and Christopher Lee.
Nice.
Also in her book, I was reading a review of it. It said that there were topless photos of her in there from films she had done, and it looks like some of them for European releases had nudity, which were not present in American films.
Well, is this surprising? Like, we're the people who are happy to show you, people getting mutilated and horribly tortured.
Yeah.
She stopped acting in the 70s and became a sculptor. Penn State even commissioned a piece from her. The last tidbit I have is that she said they really did shoot in the Cornish caves, which are abandoned tin mines. I don't know how much of what we saw was a set or was in caves, but she said they were there. And to tease a future episode, this won't be the last zombie film set in the Cornish tin mines.
Ooh, all right.
Sorry. The Cornish Tin Mines.
That's what I got for this one.
I want to call out one thing, not because it has anything to do with everything. So first of all, this film, unlike the last 2 we've watched, has a cinematographer. I think that's important. But the cinematographer worked on a movie called Bob's Your Uncle. Now, can I just take a moment? I had never heard that expression until like 2 years ago. I'm working I'm contracting like Southern Ohio, and we were talking about how to solve a problem. And a developer said to me, well, we do this, and then Bob's your uncle. I was like, what? What are you saying? And he was like, it just means that's easy. Like after that, it's easy. And I've never heard that expression my entire life. So I just wanted to throw there.
It's a British idiom.
It is. All right. You ready to give us historical context, and then I'll do a quick summary, Andy?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, guys, well, thinking about historical context for this one, it occurred to me, I think we're kind of entering an era when we could just pick like a stanza from We Didn't Start the Fire and just play that for our historical context section. But so I took a look at what was going on in the UK in 1961 that might be relevant to this film. And if there was a theme I picked up, it was that we're kind of seeing the dawn of what you might eventually call the swinging 60s. So there's a lot of shifts going on. The pill was made available through the UK's National Health Service in 1961, the year this movie came out. The pill had actually been developed in the 50s. In the UK, at least, it became widely available, although it could only be prescribed to married women in 61. A couple of British films came out that sort of were sort of starting to push a little bit at sort of the moral boundaries put around art at the time. There's a 1961 film called Victim that it's the first British film to explicitly mention homosexuality to present it somewhat sympathetically. And then there's another movie called A Taste of Honey, another British film that includes unmarried pregnancy and unmarried women's sexuality as an element in the film, as well as a gay man who is evicted from his apartment due to his sexuality. So I don't know what was happening in the U.S. That feels like something that couldn't have been happening quite yet in the U.S., but at least in British film, there's some boundary poking, at least.
I think as Americans, we're so used to exporting our own culture to the rest of the world these days. This is the time when it was the reverse. We were importing British culture. So a lot of the fashions you think of when you think of the 60s, which we're not at yet, but like, you know, paisley and crazy colors and stuff, came here from England.
Along those lines, Andy, our director, Sidney Furie, did a film in 1964 called The Leather Boys. And it has a lot of subtext to gay culture, but it was somewhat positive.
Interesting.
That is really interesting. Well, a couple other things to hit on. 1961 was also the year that the first warnings about thalidomide came out. This is the drug. It was prescribed to pregnant women for morning sickness.
Oh, this was a disaster. We don't talk about this one anymore, but this was horrible.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible. It's actually what made me think of the Billy Joel song, because it gets name checked in that song.
Yeah, just to not keep people in the dark. It caused a lot of miscarriages and a lot of birth defects.
You know, I feel a connection. We've talked about in the 50s, if there was the kind of idea of a kind of the dark side of the technological boom, the scientific and technological boom taking place in the mid-century. And I think this, would have had a pretty profound and upsetting effect on how you looked at, this medical science, which was otherwise charging forward really rapidly. And that's the other thing I wanted to mention is this film came out just a few years after the first fully successful organ transplant. It was a kidney transplant in the late 50s. And coming up in the next year or two in the early 60s, there are going to be more. I think there was a lung transplant and some other organ transplants. So that has some plot relevance to this movie. That must have felt, again, like so much of the stuff. I have to imagine when you were reading about these developments, it felt like you were living, in the sci-fi future to some extent.
For sure.
So, and that's all I got for history, unless you guys had anything you wanted to add or comment on.
That's a lot, though. I think one thing I'm excited about for the 60s in particular is there's so much stuff in the popular imagination. I mean, there's so much that happens in the 50s, 60s, 70s. It's not like one decade's better than the other, but the 60s are so famous that we're going to have all kinds of fascinating stuff every week.
Yeah, well, guys, I'm especially excited for the 60s because, You know what movie was recommended to me on Tubi after I finished watching this movie?
No.
A movie called, let me find it, The Blood Beast Terror, starring Peter Cushing. And here's the description that Tubi had. A fright fest about a scientist whose new creation, a beautiful woman who feeds on her victim's blood as a giant moth, pretends she is his daughter. And
that's amazing.
It makes me think that maybe the 60s is just going to freaking rule as far as these unhinged movies go.
Yeah, if Dr. Blood's Coffin is any indication, we're headed in the right direction. How about that?
Yes, for sure.
Yes,
so, all right, that's all I got.
All right. So let me give a summary of the film. So the film opens in a operating room where a man is about to conduct an experiment. His supervisor bursts in and tells him he's a monster, he's immoral, and fires him on the spot. Then we cut to a small rural town in England where people have been disappearing. And the town's doctor, Dr. Robert Blood, his son comes home to visit him, Peter. And we find out that Peter is in fact behind all of these disappearances. He is in fact the doctor conducting wild experiments. And as he sort of unravels and descends into madness, his crimes become more and more sloppy and unhinged as he's trying to reach his goal of showing that his experiment works. He's falling in love with Linda, the nurse at his doctor's surgery, but it all comes to an end when he revives a man from Linda's past, and that facilitates his own destruction.
That was perfect. And you got me excited about this movie all over again with that description.
Yeah, so I want to get into it, and this is probably the earliest clip I've ever cut because it comes at 47 seconds in, and I do want to get to it, but first I want to say the most interesting thing about this movie to me is that our protagonist, Peter Blood, he's not the villain, but he's a villain, and it is definitely his movie. You know what I mean? If we think about Woman Eater, right? The protagonist was really that young couple, the mechanic and the woman who worked at the carnival, right? Those were the protagonists of the film, and the doctor was there, but he was the villain. This is Peter's movie, and he's a villain, and I think that was cool. Like, we do that kind of thing now, but it seems revelatory in 1961. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, there's like M. Night Shyamalan could have remade this movie. It's like that kind of a twisty sort of thing.
Yeah, and they do try to have it so that it's a mystery, but you know pretty early on that mystery doctor at the beginning, which we're about to play a clip from, is Peter Blood. I have a note about names in this movie, but let's just get to it. So we open on an operating room, and there's a masked doctor who's drawing something into a syringe. And first of all, I'd like to say, metal syringes, even normal-looking ones, are terrifying compared to today's syringes.
Yes, they are.
Right?
Yes.
They just look evil. It looks like something Freddy Krueger invented. So metal and glass-framed syringe. Looks like he's putting some sort of blood in it. And an old German, we actually found out he's Austrian because we later find out this is in Vienna, bursts in on him and tells him to stop his experiments. So this is the interaction.
I've been a fool. I should have realized that even if you were the most brilliant of my pupils, your vanity will force you to go on. I should have sent you away from here a year ago.
But you didn't. Because you too wanted to go on with this experiment. But you needed someone to give you courage, and I supplied it for you.
We were experimenting with animals, not with human beings. No one has the right to take a human life for any reason whatsoever.
The man I'm experimenting with is already doomed to die.
So there it is.
I love just the hysterical line delivery. This is like the first 60 seconds of the movie.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I absolutely love it.
So this scene plays out before the credits roll, and that felt like kind of a modern thing, right?
Yes.
You do like a teaser scene right before the credits go. I don't think that's like our first movie that's done it, but it just felt kind of interesting, and it felt a little more modern.
In fact, I feel like the last movie, the Dead one, did that a little bit. We had the voodoo ceremony right before the opening. I think.
Did we? Okay.
No,
I think
so.
you're
But
probably right. Yeah.
it also feels very English 1960s to me because all the Bond films did this. Right?
Yes,
like
for sure.
They always had their teaser. So I don't know enough about British cinema in the 60s to say if it was regular. But and then we get the credits, big music, and my note here says this sounds more like a real movie.
Yes, it does.
So
I noticed the soundtrack as well.
And then we're immediately going to cut to a small English town. And it's a doctor's office. We meet one of our other main characters, Linda Parker, who is a nurse in the village. And the townsfolk are sort of meeting in the town square. Somebody's gone missing. Meanwhile, somebody is creeping around inside the doctor's office, stealing things. And it seems very odd. And then we cut back outside. George, one of the townsfolk, agrees to lead the search. And then we sort of follow. You don't see the face of this figure who's been sneaking around in this office. We assume it's connected to the missing townsfolk, but we keep following this person. And where do they go, Andy? They sort of go on a secret route.
Yeah, so he steals something from the fridge. We later are going to learn it's glucose, and then he goes out to what seems to be sort of it's an underground lair out in the British countryside, which is dotted with different ruined structures, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's in an old mine tunnel, we're going to find out.
So we actually spend a lot of the first part of this movie sort of following this faceless person around. So he goes into this cave. He's got someone there, and he hooks up the glucose to them, and then he heads back into town, and the townsfolk are discussing how they're going to search for the missing villagers. And George Beale, his name turns out to be, says, "I know the mines better than anybody. I will lead the search in the morning. Let's all go home and get a good night's rest, and then we'll get started first thing in the morning." What then happens is our faceless thief sneaks into George's room, drugs him with chloroform, and injects him with something, and carries him out of the room back into that secret cave. And I don't know, at this point I'm loving it. There's this mystery. What is this person doing? Why is he doing it? And at this point, George awakens and starts to try to escape. So, Andy, so far, how are you feeling about this movie? It feels like a movie. There's a moving camera. There's a mystery. There's something I want to know more about. It's, I don't know. It's good, right?
I noticed, this is what this podcast has done for me. The fact that the camera moves was like, I almost jotted that down on my notes. It's like, oh my gosh, like the camera's moving.
There's close-ups. There's moving cameras setting the scene. It's crazy.
So there's a couple things I want to unpack here. First, I went down a couple of rabbit trails for this episode, and so I got to ask you guys, how long do you think it takes to chloroform somebody?
Well, in this case, it took a while. So I think maybe they thought this was gory because it seems like he's mashing this cloth in George's face. Now, if it were like Charlie's Angels in the 70s, it takes about 5 seconds. So, yeah.
Well, that's what I thought. So when we were watching this, he probably struggles for like 15 or 20 seconds on screen,
right,
to knock this guy out with a chloroform soaked rag. So I thought, oh wow, like I wonder if this is like more realistic, because most movies it's like you just hold it up to someone's and they instantly collapse.
Right.
You want to take a guess of how long it takes to chloroform someone like this?
I have no idea.
Over 5 minutes of continual inhalation.
Well, that's movies for you.
And if interrupted, like you aren't continually inhaling it, it wrecks the whole thing. So it'd be virtually impossible to knock someone out like this with chloroform if they were struggling.
So it makes you wonder where the trope came from. What was the first film that did this, that planted the seed?
That's a great question. And then I just wonder if the times just kept shrinking, to our modern era where 1 second of a chloroform thing and you just instantly faint. But okay.
Yeah, I think that's just a very sort of movie kind of thing. Like, You know, the way that guns sound in movies, a lot of gun experts will say silencers don't really sound like that. Like there's all kinds of things that are just, I had an audio engineer teacher that used to go nuts because every movie starts with somebody grabbing a mic and there being feedback for a second. He's like, that's not how that works. Like when you touch a mic, it just doesn't instantly do feedback. So there's just all these little shorthand things.
I always just figured that mics know when you're nervous and then they just do that burst of feedback, right?
Yeah.
I would bet, though, that if the director of Teenage Zombies were to do a scene with chloroform, it would be 5 minutes.
It for sure would be. And I think one thing that's different in this movie from Teenage Zombies is, like we joke about the moving camera, there are many times during this film where people are walking around searching for lost people or trying to find them or running, and there's like cuts and moving cameras. It's not like those scenes are so much shorter. It's like they're kept interesting by, direction and cinematography in a way that these other cheaper films haven't been.
They tell a story. So there are some long stretches where you're watching people walk around, but just with good editing, you can tell a story with a scene like that, and it seems kind of interesting. But
yeah, so the film sort of jumps here, right? So we've seen this mystery person walking around. He's clearly holding some people in a cave to do experiments on. There's clearly a lab in here, but it's very rustic. And then we cut to a car driving up into town, and out gets a very handsome young man. He goes into the doctor's office, and the first thing he does is awkwardly ogles the nurse's butt for talk about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like they just have this scene where
the camera lingers.
The camera lingers.
Like they set up a special camera angle to ogle the nurse's butt.
It's his POV. It's like an 80s sex comedy. It's the same kind of shot you would have seen then.
Absolutely. And he introduces himself as Dr. Blood, and we find out that his father, Robert Blood, runs the only doctor's office in town.
Which is charmingly in his house, his own house.
Which is charmingly in his own house. And Peter's come for a visit. They've been expecting him. And then another person enters this scene. It's Mr. Morton, who we find out is the town undertaker. But I just like to say, one of the other things I love about genre fiction is it doesn't mind being completely ham-fisted with the points it's trying to make. So the doctors are named Blood.
Yeah.
The mortician's name is Morton. The whole thing is just let's just be obvious and ham-fisted. And that, like Star Wars, lightsaber, let's just,
totally.
be super obvious. I kind of love it. And of course, then he smokes, which I also love. And we also found out the town name is Port Keiron, but being English, it's not spelled like Port Keiron. It's like an extra H in there or something. I don't even know if it's a real town. So
it's made up.
Yeah, I did note at this point, the movie it made us watch a lot of footage of the villain with his head concealed. And I did note that, first of all, after 10 minutes of that, I just put in my notes that this had better pay. This is better payoff.
Yes.
And secondly, I wondered, how long does the movie expect us to not realize that Peter is the villain? And his name is Dr. Blood, and the movie.
Yes. Anyway. And I feel like we know it right away. There's some mystery. So part of me is why do we go to all that trouble? But I think what it did is it kept me interested in the early part of the movie.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It did pay. I mean, it did pay off. Not in the sense that it was a shocking reveal, but the way it is revealed is executed really well. We're going to get to it in a minute. But hey, before we do that, John, I have one other name-related thing. So what was the name of the nurse in this movie?
It is Linda Parker, isn't it?
Linda. What was the name of the bride in the last movie we watched, the dead one?
It was Linda.
So 2 Lindas in the same year. I had to figure out what was going on. So I did a little bit of digging.
Oh, here we go.
And so here's what happens if you look up a chart of baby name popularity in the mid-century America. You notice that the name Linda is nobody is named Linda until 1930. And then Linda does this incredible spike in popularity. And it peaks in the late 40s when 1 in every 20 girls was named Linda.
Including my aunt.
And
Oh,
what
wow.
women's name do you think it displaced briefly as the number one name?
Monica?
I'll guess Barbara.
Mary.
Oh.
Mary, of course.
So we've seen a number of Marys in this podcast, of course. And
Yes.
then Linda kind of precipitously drops off until by like the 70s. You know, it's pretty low there. So we are in peak Linda
It's peak
right now.
Linda.
And so when Linda was at its absolute height of popularity, it was because of a piece of, I think, 1947, Linda peaked as one of the most popular names. And it was because of a piece of entertainment released the year before. And if I were to write an incredibly popular song to popularize the name Linda, I think it might go a little something like this.
Uh-oh.
When I go to sleep, I never count sheep. I count all the charms about Linda. And lately it seems, in all of my dreams, I walk with my arms about Linda. But what good does it do me? For Linda doesn't know I exist.
I have no idea who this is.
That is Buddy Clark singing a song by Jack Lawrence called Linda.
Oh,
It was
wow.
written in 1947. It is written about a 1-year-old girl named Linda who grew up to become which famous Linda, John?
Oh, no. I don't know.
Linda McCartney.
Oh,
So
nice.
anyway, so that was my one of my other little
That's amazing. What was her maiden name?
Eastman.
Okay.
We just need John Carradine to fit into this story in some way. And
In
then,
some way.
you'll be
Yeah.
complete. All right, John, I apologize for the big diversion, but first of all, I've had that
No, it was
Linda
amazing.
song stuck in my head for about 24 hours now. And secondly, I hope we get so many more Lindas coming up. So,
For real. Okay, so we're in the doctor's office.
oh, and you know what
Peter's-
else is in the doctor's office? I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
But I have an Andy Grammer moment.
All right.
Welcome to Andy's Grammar Corner.
I will love that forever. What's your grammar?
All right. Did you notice the poster that's hanging on
Yes,
the wall?
I
in the
did.
back?
I was
Okay.
wondering if this was going to be it.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell them what it says?
Yeah, the poster, you never see the top of the poster. I went frame by frame through this 10 times trying to get the top of this poster. It's a poster about blood donation, and
Yes.
you only see the phrase thanks to, and then the font changes to a big red and it says you blood donor. And so there needs to be a comma in there. Without the comma, you blood donor has kind of a passive aggressive, thanks to you blood donor.
You blood donor.
And the words blood and donor are on a line below the words thanks to you. But the word you has the same font as blood donor. So I don't know if that really counts as grammar, but there needed to be a comma in there. And also I really needed to see the top of that poster to see what was going on. But okay,
Yeah.
that's it.
No, it's
I
no
promise
problem.
I'm done with my diversions for a little while, John.
No, this is amazing. So just going back for a second, when our villain here, Peter, we don't know this yet, but when he abducted George, he left his syringe behind. So this is the first time I'd like to point out, Peter is clearly not a professional criminal. He's really sloppy. So what happens is when they discover George is missing, it happens while Peter and Linda are meet-cuting. The inspector runs in with a syringe, and it is the syringe he found. And Peter, acting like a dolt, picks it up. And the inspector's like, oh, you've ruined it. Now I can't get prints off. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. But we know now that Peter was the one who handled it first. So he is slyly creating an excuse for his prints to be on it in case they are found. And at this point, the doctor, Robert, the father, says there's a substance inside of it, and he's going to go to, I believe it's Cork? No, it's Plymouth. It's Plymouth. He's going to drive to Plymouth, which is the only place with a lab that can help him analyze what's going on here. So that sort of sets us up for the next part of the movie. More people are being abducted. There's some strange serum that they have to figure out. Anything you want to say before I move on to George, the world's slowest escape attempt?
Just that I genuinely love Peter's villainy, how it's portrayed.
Yes.
He's portrayed as sloppy, but it's not, because I think in previous movies this would have been really clumsy filmmaking.
Right. No.
But here it's because he is a person who, I mean, this movie is the story of him committing these audacious crimes. Kind of, he's flying by the seat of his pants with these. He's making impulsive decisions to do these crimes, and he's right in the middle of the investigation of those crimes too. And so the effect is just a really compelling viewing experience.
Yeah, he's constantly committing a crime and trying to cover it up at the same time as he's at risk of people. So this is the first sort of taste we get of that, because what is happening is George was injected with something. We're about to find out what that is, which is very exciting, to be honest.
Yes.
But he's not completely paralyzed, so he has been slowly trying to crawl we've been cutting back and forth with him, slowly trying to crawl out of this mine. It's incredibly slow. However, it is kind of compelling, because what's happening is they're going to organize a search. Well, Peter knows where George is because he put him there. So Peter is trying to search that part and capture George before he's found out. So there's a lot of driving back and forth, trying to catch him. There's a long sequence where Peter is like trying to find George, and George escapes and manages to fall to the bottom of this hill, right? And the doctor, Robert, has gone to Plymouth to get this test done. So they're like, Peter, you're a doctor. Come help us. So he grabs his doctor's bag. In it, he puts his syringe of whatever this toxic chemical he's been injecting to people is, and he goes out to the injury site. He checks him out, and he says, oh, bring some adrenaline. So he's miming that he's giving him adrenaline when he's really giving him this serum. He gives it to him, and George seems to die, though we find out George has not died. But I thought this is the one part where I go, okay, guys, he just injected him with something, and then he died. So maybe we could start suspecting Peter.
I wondered about that too. So this is one of several scenes in this movie that I think is kind of effective. I think I would call it medical horror, where Peter is, doing some medical procedure. Later, they're going to be extremely gruesome, painful procedures on people who are paralyzed or helpless, but conscious. And
can we actually cut back? Because I had a clip here and I forgot to play it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when they find George and Peter, they say, Peter, you've got to come take a look at George. Here's the following clip.
Peter, can you come right away?
What's the matter?
It's George Beale. They found him in the ravine below the old water tower near the mine.
Is he alive?
Yeah, the boys are bringing him up right now. I've got the car outside. I'll take you right over.
I'll be out in a minute. Linda, where's the... Thanks. Get me some adrenaline, huh?
Right.
So why I wanted to clip this is Peter is clearly playing his sinister game, but acting like the good guy here, and it's really great. You can't see it from the clip, but it's perfect. When they tell him he's found George, when he says, is he alive? The actor does a great job of being simultaneously worried and concerned. It's actually very convincing.
And it's a close-up. It's a pretty tight close-up, so you can see the tension in his face as he's saying that. It's great.
Yeah. I was impressed. So then they go to George. He has his own serum, but I have to take another step back. So just before this happens, sorry, Linda, there's so much good stuff here. I'm sorry. Linda and Peter are talking in the doctor's office. He's left his serum, which is inside a bamboo container, lying around, and Linda asks about it. Andy, what is the serum?
It is nothing other than curare.
Yes, right from Woman Eater. I didn't know this is a real thing, but this is our second film with this paralytic poison called curare, making its return appearance from South America. They mentioned South America as well.
Is it? I thought it was Four Skulls of Jonathan Drake.
Four Skulls. You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They had the zombies that blood was 1/3 curare.
Yes.
Yes.
I had never heard of curare until I started this podcast, but now I feel like it's an intimate part of my life.
Yeah, it's absolutely essential. So he carries around, he's sloppy. Like Linda discovers he's got this weird thing called curare. And he happily tells her about it because I think he's not only sloppy, but incredibly arrogant.
Yeah. Well, he does a great trick. He tells her it's honey, and he takes he puts his finger in it and licks his finger. He eats a little bit of it and even offers it to her.
Yes.
This is obviously, you wouldn't ingest poison, right? Later, we're going to find out this was actually a ploy, but we'll wait till we get to that.
Yeah, it was a ploy. So anyway, they rush out to find George. In case you forgot this was a British film, the first thing they think of is to offer George some brandy. So there is a terrifying moment where the almost paralyzed and mute George realizes that Peter is his abductor and he's about to inject him with something, and he's staring at Peter.
Yeah.
And then George appears to die. This is actually kind of a delicious, terrifying moment where you realize George knows what's happening to him and can't articulate it.
Yeah, this is one of a couple scenes in this movie that are basically medical horror, where somebody who is paralyzed or otherwise helpless is being, medically worked on. In this case, injected. Later, people are going to be cut open with scalpels while they're paralyzed but still conscious. I mean, that is just pure nightmare fuel stuff. Stephen King has wrote a whole story that's just entirely about a person who is conscious and in the hospital, and the doctors are about to operate on him, not realizing he's conscious and aware. I mean, it's just a great horror trope.
And so they do show some gnarly stuff, but I think maybe the X rating is more because the idea of somebody getting cut open without anesthetic while they're aware,
that's what I wonder
is really
too.
Terrifying.
Because there's some grossness a little later. We're going to see some bloody organs, but this is an upsetting scene because it's just really intense.
Yes. And so now George has been put into Dr. Morton's slab, basically, so somebody can do a post-mortem. But George isn't dead. And Peter offers to do the post-mortem, and they're talking for a while. We find out a couple of things, like Mr. Morton mixes his own embalming fluid. But when Mr. Morton is also a drunk, which is made very obvious.
Yes.
But when Morton leaves, he injects George again. And then we've got some time, we sort of cut away from this for a while. He sort of leaves George to sort of be unconscious on this slab while he's waiting for his poison to take effect or something.
I think he's trying to, I think he wants to come back and do his work at night after the funeral director has gone to sleep. I think it's a ruse so he can come back and
that's right. Alone. He said leave it for me. That's right. He says to Morton, leave it for me. I'll do the postmortem. And then he goes to take Linda for a walk. And there's this sort of meet cute romance scene between Peter and Linda. It turns out we find out that Linda is a widow, that her husband, I believe it's Stephen, died in a car accident a couple of years ago, tragically. And they just sort of chat about how you became a doctor, and the time you spent in Vienna. They're cute and chatting, but then Peter. This is, I think, the scene where we're sure Peter is that doctor from the beginning. We knew it before, but then he lays this on Linda, and I actually love this bit.
Yes, this is so good.
When you become really interested in something as fascinating as biology and chemistry and the relationship between them, we had a professor in Vienna. He was an old man, brilliant. He had the knowledge and the perception, but he lacked courage. He saw the possibilities of going on, but he held back. He held me back. He would progress so far, then stop. One day we were in the middle of an experiment. We were working on skin graft and the rejection reaction of the body. We stood in that laboratory, and suddenly, the whole world was open to us. There were no barriers, no restrictions, no limitations. We were on the brink of a discovery. I wanted to go on, but I was stopped by ignorance and superstition. So authority shut down on my ideas. They will call upon any excuse to avoid going further than their minds can conceive.
Those nature rambles certainly inspired you.
I just hate people standing over me. I must be free to go my own way. No one's going to hold me back.
So is there something about English people that their monomaniacal quest for scientific knowledge overrides the health and livelihood of all other human beings. This is the same speech we get in Woman Eater. I mean, is this how you start an empire across the world? Is you're like, well, whatever I'm doing is the most important thing. I don't care what you got going on. You know,
I was wondering more if is there something wrong with British women that, like, after this little scene, Linda goes on to kind of quasi date Peter. I mean, this is something you go home and you tell all of your friends for the rest of your life about this weird guy you went on a date with, and he started ranting about how how morality and regulations won't get in his way.
Yes. Now this is the other thing I love about good genre fiction is this is not our last metaphysical morality conversation that we're going to be having. It gets really good. However, Peter's got to go back because he has to cut George open while he's still alive. Before he does that, though, I think there's a moment that I think I like where Peter's like, well, maybe I could just move here and be with Linda. Maybe I don't have to be a mad scientist. Like, I get that sense from the actor. It's not a line so much as just a connection that I feel between the two.
Yeah, there actually was a little bit of a line in the middle of his rant. He said something, he's going on his mad scientist rant. Then he says something along the lines of like, but I didn't count on you
yes.
So, and maybe I'm being too generous to the film, but it did feel like you could see him briefly seeing a different path that he could take. Yeah,
for sure.
I got to ask one other question. I couldn't figure out his accent.
I couldn't either. I made the same note. Like he
is Irish.
Okay. All right.
But he's trying to mute it because he's supposed to be English.
Yes, it's not a full-on Irish accent. So, yeah, I think, okay, that makes sense.
But in addition to that, I don't know if this sounds this way to you. He sounds a lot like Burt Lancaster.
You're right.
The classic actor.
Yes.
Especially in that speech there.
And he he's a good actor. And Linda's good. Everybody in this movie is actually good. Which is so nice.
Yes.
But now I want to talk about the next scene because it's great.
Yes.
So this is sort of the big. So I realized after watching it, because it's English and everybody's a little flat, I didn't realize until after the movie that it really is about Peter unraveling in his own monomania. And this is the first time where he really sort of starts to go nuts. So he goes back to the mortuary. He makes sure that Mr. Morton is asleep. Now, we clearly see that George can move his eyes and is conscious, but we watch slowly as George preps him for surgery and grabs a scalpel. And this scene is really well done, and it's shot really tensely. There's great tension music. Like Peter's sweaty face is presented as an angle as he tries to work quickly, and he's cutting into George's chest, and then you cut to George's panic face. It's amazing. And then Peter, the sloppiest criminal, what does he do, Andy?
He kicks something over that wakes up the sleeping funeral director.
Yeah, he just kicks over like a giant can while he's conducting his surgery. So he's left behind his syringe one time. He's told Linda all about curare, and now he's kicked over a can like he's in a barn and has woken up Mr. Morton.
Yeah, can we pause for a sec? So there is gross blood. There's gore in this scene. It's not like a ton of it, but we do see bloody surgery incisions.
Yep.
And we see a bloody heart. We have actually seen quite a few hearts in these movies, going all the way back to Maniac's torso-sized heart.
Yes.
But this is the first one that's been, I think...
Torso-sized heart.
It is. Go back and watch it.
Yeah, it's huge.
This is the first time we've seen a bloody human organ, I think.
Yes. I think you might be right.
And it's even still beating India, the Temple of Doom heart.
Yes, and as this scene progresses, we start to hear it's like we start to hear the telltale heart.
Yep.
As the scene goes on, you start to hear the heart, and it becomes part of the tension music. So what happens is Mr. Morton finds him and he says, "Peter, what are you doing? He's alive. You can't do this." And they struggle. And what happens to Mr. Morton?
He gets killed in the struggle. He's thrown against a stairwell or something and breaks his neck or something like that.
Yeah, and Peter doesn't pause for a moment. He's sad because his experiment is ruined. So what we find out is his plan was to take a dead body, which he's got back in the mine. He's going to take the living heart out of George and revive that dead body. And this is his experiment. He's going to bring life to the dead through the use of the organs of the living and his curare mixture. So there's our zombie right there.
Yes.
Bring the dead back to life with human organs.
And specifically, his motives are to take the organs out of people he considers like just trash or worthless and use them to immortalize like the great thinkers and scientists, like great people like himself.
Yeah, that sounds like a British attitude if I've ever heard one. Sorry, British people who might be listening. But he says to Mr. Morton, like, what did George do? He just went to the pub every afternoon. Like, he was a waste of life. I'm going to use his heart to revolutionize the world, you know, and he keeps sounding like crazier and crazier as he goes. But his experiment has been ruined by Morton's intervention.
So one of the things that works so well and in good movies where you're following like a bad guy as the central character will do this. And that is as his plans like get complicated, like having to kill the funeral director, you're like worried for him. Like, I mean, you obviously you want him to fail in the end, but in the moment you are caught up in like sort of this panicky, like, oh no, what is he going to do now? Like, how is he going to get out of this one?
Yeah. So
in this case, he does get out of it though. So go ahead.
Yeah, he does. Here's how he gets away with it. His experiment is ruined. So he takes George's now useless dead body. He throws it in a coffin that is inside the mortuary cold room. And then he takes poor Mr. Morton and throws him in the coffin too. And now he's hiding these bodies together. And then he has a false report on how George dies, which he files. He says it's a heart condition, which he will get caught in later. And his next thought after he hides two bodies is, I've got to find another subject for my experiment.
Yes.
So who could that be, Andy?
Well, the scene then switches very ominously to one of this movie's most tense and uncomfortable scenes, because it switches to Peter taking Linda on a date to where else? The mine tunnels.
Yes, she's out running errands. Peter picks her up. By the way, just as an aside, there's a lot of cars in this movie. They're all English except for one Ford. We don't need to go over them in detail, and there's no planes. So
I did have a car observation from earlier. When they were all going out to check on George, who they just found him paralyzed. Did you notice that when they drove back to town, three of them got into the police chief's car, but they all three of them, these three men squeeze into the front seat of the car, even though there's like an empty back seat.
Maybe it's just, embarrassing to be in the back seat of a car as the guy who's in the back. But anyway, yes, it's very strange.
All right. But yeah, so he's taking Linda out to the mines on their date.
Yes. So they head to the mines and they walk in the mines. Linda is starting to think this is weird. And he talks about how when he was a kid, he always used to come out here by himself and all of the things that he would think of and fantasize about. And so Linda asks him, like, weren't your parents worried about you? So this exchange is a little long, but it's really Peter starting to unravel, and it's kind of great.
Are you sure it's safe in here?
Nothing to worry about. Here, you hold the light. I used to come down here often when I was a kid.
Weren't your parents worried about you?
My mother died when I was 5 years old. My father was far too busy to keep an eye on me. I used to go all the way down this tunnel to my secret palace.
Weren't you afraid? It's awfully dark in here.
When I got to my palace, I'd lie on the ground with my hands folded across my chest and think how it felt to be buried inside a big mountain.
Sounds weird to me.
One day I'd be lucky, god of the Norsemen, buried inside my great hole in the mountain of Valhalla. Another day I'd be an Egyptian pharaoh, sealed away in my tomb in the Great Pyramid. Then I'd come to life, rise out of my coffin and come back into the world, and nobody ever guessed the secrets locked away in my ancient brain.
I don't know whether it's you or the Pharaohs, but I've got goose flesh.
Oh, no, you don't have to worry about the Pharaohs. I gave them strict instructions to stay out of sight today.
Well, just the same, I think we ought to go back.
No, you're going to stay here locked away with me forever.
Wow. Fortunately for her, some random miner who's actually been working these mines comes in and interrupts them just in time to save Linda.
So this is, I don't know if it quite comes across in the audio clip, but it's a really unnerving and menacing scene.
Yes.
It ends with a real uncomfortable element of like sexual menace. As he's finishing that tirade, he's like shoving her against a wall.
Yeah, it's intense. So they go back to town. Peter can't have this miner running around. So again, in just a completely emboldened fashion, he goes out to chat with him. Then we see Peter get out his trusty syringe, and down the miner goes.
Yes. In between this, we have seen him and Linda doing more countryside drives. And like, how many red flags does Linda need to be presented with?
At this point, I'm like, Linda, sister.
In a minute, she's going to start putting the pieces together. But yeah.
Yes. However, Peter's dad, Robert, comes home. And they meet in the bar. So they're having a pint. They say something sexist to Linda when she turns down a pint. We'll skip past that. However, they ask about how the analysis went. And what does Robert reveal about the chemical they found in the syringe way back at the beginning of the movie?
He reveals that syringe was full of curare.
That's right, which Peter has arrogantly told Linda all about.
Yes.
And so in my notes, it says the jig is up for Peter, and Linda starts to suspect him. Finally, I don't know what about that scary conversation in the mine didn't make her, but she's starting to put the pieces together.
She and the sheriff go do some research onto curare, and we get a little exposition about how curare works. But here's where we learn that curare isn't poisonous, according to this film, if you ingest it through your mouth.
Right.
And so Peter was actually, licking the curare, telling her it was honey. So Linda is starting to figure it out.
Yes. So now Peter has another body. He's got this miner. He's going to try it again, but he gets interrupted again. This time it's his father coming to point out that he has falsified his report about George Beale. It couldn't possibly have been a heart attack. His father was George's doctor, and he knows that that's not how he died. And they have a fight about it. Dad storms off. Peter storms off. And then we cut to, Robert, the father, just sort of brooding.
Yeah.
And just he feels like he's failed. Like, where did I go wrong with Peter?
This was a strangely good scene.
Yes. Yeah. Again, another interesting performance. And as a sick person, they just get a random call about a sick child. He says, I'll go. She says, no, you haven't slept in days. I'll go get Peter at the mortuary and I'll make him go. There's this wonderful harp music as she walks into the mortuary. And then she sees the miner. She sees that vial of curare. And she flees as Peter tries to chase her down. But I put a note in here, which was something they've been doing in this film that they haven't done in the last three movies, which is they showed us something. This whole scene with Linda seeing the living miner and the curare and the syringe and all of this unfolds just with visual storytelling, like you do in a movie. It's amazing.
Yeah, they don't tell you what they saw. They show you. It's so good. And this scene has some fantastic close-ups of Linda and Peter's faces.
Yes. And it's also 3 minutes of like metaphysical moral argument between these two. Peter pulls the mask away and says, I am super important. What I'm trying to do here, that old miner, he's worthless, but his heart can help me change the world. There's like 3 minutes of these sort of philosophical exchanges. I wanted to cut the whole thing, but I couldn't. So here's the part I did clip.
You saw Tregay out of the mine. A useless tramp. What good was he to himself or to anybody else?
You can't let a man die so that you can discover something. It doesn't matter how important it is. That is murder.
Well, everywhere men are dying. Great men, philosophers, artists, scientists. But if they could live on, look how they could contribute to the advancement of man. Tregay is going to help me prove that I can give life where there was death.
They go on forever here, and there's so much we could call out here. Some of my favorite lines that I love is he compares himself to God, and she said, you have the pride of Lucifer.
Yeah.
It's delightful.
This is the most Christian dialogue we've heard in any of these movies. We talked a little earlier that Judeo-Christianity has not really been leveraged against zombies the way that it is leveraged against like vampires or werewolves or other or demons or something. But here, this is like, calling it a theological discussion is maybe going a little too far, but this is like a very explicit, like, this is evil, it's satanic. He rejects God, explicitly. So it reminded me of Cousin Monica in The Dead One, sneering at like stupid religion.
That's the exact same thing I thought of. While this is happening, the miner wakes up enough to knock over the rest of the curare. But I feel like, I believe what Peter does here is he takes the miner to the mine. He's going to finish his experiment there.
Mm-hmm. Linda makes a run for it.
In the meantime, Linda goes to get the inspector. And they race back to the mortuary, but it's too late. But they do find the empty curare jar. Now, what is Peter's plan to show Linda that he was correct and his experiments are worthwhile? Tell us.
I did not see this coming. I was so delighted at this because we cut to briefly to Peter digging up the corpse of Linda's husband.
Yes.
And yes. I wondered how this is going to happen because I saw in the cast that there is a cast member listed as Stephen, whatever his name is, her husband. And I was like,
Parker.
But if he died a couple of years ago. So I was waiting for them to somehow bring him out. So he digs up the corpse of Linda's husband. And I think we'll get to it maybe in more detail in a second, but it is like a really nicely decayed, gross, rotting corpse. Like it's
it's got like green fungus and mold on its face and like
kind of puffy.
Yeah, mold has grown on it. It's it's a little goofy looking, but it's the best corpse zombie we have seen yet.
I think this is the best zombie bit in this movie, which is we get a zombie that looks like a zombie we recognize from a modern film.
So his plan is he takes her husband's corpse back into his lair, and he's going to put the fresh heart from the miner into it.
Correct. And this is a body that's been dead for years. It's decayed. It looks gnarly. And this scene is amazing. I don't have any clips or anything from this, but he is conducting surgery. They just silently show him doing this with the tension music, and there's these cracking sounds as he's breaking breastbones, and
he's sweating,
and the beating heart effect is back here, so it's like the telltale heart in the background, and he's sweating. And then as he finishes, he smiles and turns the light out, and it feels like a symbol of his final descent into darkness and madness.
Yeah.
Peter Blood has become completely unraveled. But what happens? Does it work?
Yeah, so having turned out the light, he turns and he addresses the corpse.
Yeah, here's what he says to Stephen Parker, the corpse.
You're Steve Parker. You're Steve Parker. Steve Parker. Speak. 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 Linda.
And that last voice is the corpse's voice.
Oh, it's so good.
Speaking.
Oh.
It is so good.
We'll mix it in with Andy's song later.
So
this would be a great place to cue up that song again.
For sure. So Linda goes home. They haven't had any luck finding him. The inspector can't get more cops from the big city to come. He's very frustrated. Then there's a great jump scare. Linda goes home, and then like Peter reaches out and grabs her, and it's probably the best jump scare we've had on this podcast so far, except for Girl with All the Gifts or something. But you know what I mean? Like, it's genuine.
Yeah. I don't even know that we've had very many things that we call jump scares in this podcast so
No.
far. This reminded me of The Walking Dead with Boris Karloff.
Yeah.
I think.
The figure outside the window where they were trying to scare the guy to death.
Yeah. What was the one where, there was a movie where like earlier movies would do this by showing somebody really melodramatically like reaching out slowly towards the woman from behind.
Yes, I remember that.
But this one is like a very modern horror movie. It's a jump scare.
Yeah.
Like he's right behind her. All of a sudden he grabs
I
her.
wasn't expecting it, and they got me.
Yes.
So he takes her to the cave, and there is her husband.
I just love this so much because like, what is he thinking? Like, what does he think is going to happen?
Yeah,
like,
he's like, I've shown you that I can do this, but you've ruined it. He gives her this lecture about how she's ruined his great discovery because he had to do it on her husband to show her how powerful this could be.
Look what you made me do.
Yes. And as she looks in horror at her reanimated dead husband, Peter, this is Peter's last moment, and he absolutely falls to pieces.
Yes, I've done it. But I wanted to create something worthwhile. You made me do this. This is what you rejected me for.
I could forgive you if you were insane. But you're not. You're evil. And this is the result of your evil. You haven't brought Steve Parker back to life. This is something from hell.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Did you think of Night of the Living Dead when you heard that one?
For sure.
Yeah.
And then Steve attacks. He attacks Linda.
Yeah. So I was really surprised by this. Steve, zombie Steve jumps at Linda. Like he moves quickly.
So let's pause here. We're at the end of the film, but I just want to say like what happens here is he attacks Linda. Peter wrestles him off, and Steve fights Peter. They knock over some chemicals in the lab. Peter gets killed, but this scene is up until this point, like, I'm thinking this is a good horror movie that I am enjoying, but this is the zombie bit that I think merits inclusion on this podcast because a reanimated dead corpse that suddenly becomes a raging killing machine is not exactly, we haven't seen that exact thing before. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like Steve, I mean, I guess we might have, but this just seems like the most complete version of that. He's gnarly. He's decayed. It's clearly an animated corpse. It's not like in, what was the one with, where he accidentally killed his housekeeper and then reanimated her?
Woman Eater,
right.
Yeah.
Where she's reanimated, because like this thing is nasty, and it just feels like a modern zombie rushing and trying to kill somebody in a way we haven't quite seen before.
This is his first zombie he's created, I think.
Yes.
And so, I mean, he's not expecting it to be homicidal. Like the whole thing, the whole zombie element of this is just for the small amount of time it is in this movie. It's so interesting.
Yes. And then the cavalry arrives. They spirit Linda away, and the movie just ends as they're escaping. This is great. I love the zombie bit we got here, and this is an engaging and interesting movie. Like, do you have any other thoughts before we get into our questions, Andy?
No, I don't think so. Let's just jump right in and we'll share thoughts as I ask our questions.
For sure.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. So, John, in Dr. Blood's Coffin, which, by the way, the coffin is a relatively minor plot point in this movie.
Yes.
So the title is maybe
I think it's a poster point, not a plot point.
Yes.
All right. Is there a hero party in Dr. Blood's Coffin?
I'll say yes, but it's not our protagonist. It is Linda and the inspector and perhaps Peter's father.
How do they do? How many survive?
They all survive. However, other people do die, including Peter.
Yeah, let's get a kill count on this one, because I think we've got a good number here.
Yeah, so we got Peter, George Beale, Mr. Morton. That's 3, and I think the miner dies because he takes out his heart. So that's 4. And there was one that they didn't really go into, but the first person abducted that they're talking about at the beginning.
Yes.
Who's in the cave?
Yeah,
the guy in the cave.
Yeah,
yes.
so is that 5? So That's pretty serious.
Yeah, and I will say, like, Linda is convincingly threatened.
Yes.
Unlike, I mean, this is fight scenes are just better now. I think in movies.
Yep.
And it's scary. It's actually a little scary when her zombie husband lunges at her. So.
Yeah.
Okay. In this movie, so what kind of zombie strain are we dealing with in this movie, John?
So we're dealing with scientifically reanimated corpses.
Yes. How are they destroyed or killed?
In this case, like they seem fairly unkillable. I think it suggested that they knock over some chemicals in the lab, which create a smoke, which causes them to collapse, but it's not really super clear.
Yeah, either that or it
just ran out
the
of
effect
juice.
is just doesn't last long, similar to again, Woman Eater, I think.
Yeah.
I got the sense that whatever chemicals fell and broke de-zombified the zombie.
Okay. Yeah,
that was
I think
my
you're right
interpretation.
about that,
but it wasn't clear.
Yeah.
Yep, that could well be.
Yeah.
Is there a zombie horde in this movie?
No, just the one.
Okay. Any new strains or zombie firsts that we need to call out?
I really feel like this attack by the crazed reanimated corpse. I feel like we've had a lot of near misses on this, but like this is what we've been looking for this whole time.
Agreed. I've said in many past episodes,
almost there.
They haven't made zombies scary yet. I think this was a scary zombie.
I think you're right. There is horror in the people who are still alive when he's being operated on. So that's sort of your horror of being a zombie in a sense. But this was the horror of a zombie killing a person. And I feel like this is the first time it was scary.
Agreed. I also wanted to say, so I feel like zombie, makeup technology and stuff is getting better and better. So we keep, in these movies, we keep saying this is the best zombie yet.
Right.
But this is the best zombie yet. I think.
For sure. And it's not quite scary yet, but it is. I mean, it's scary enough, like it's a little hokey, but it's genuinely scary.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say.
Yeah, for sure. I don't want to overstate it because it does still look like a zombie from 1961.
Right.
But it's the best we've seen so far,
For
I
sure.
think. All right. How many of your pillars are we going to find in this one, John? I'm pretty excited about this. So we got 4 pillars.
Yeah.
The first, is there an apocalypse in this movie?
There is not.
Is there contagion in this movie?
No, you have to follow a complex process to make a zombie. It's a lot of work.
Are there tough moral choices in this movie?
There are. Everyone is making them. Peter's all about them. Linda has to decide what's important to her. Peter makes a bunch of bad, tough moral choices. So I think so. Maybe not our best example of it, but they're here.
Yeah. And lastly, does this movie feature loved ones turning against you?
Hell yes. Linda's dead husband reanimates and tries to kill her. This is probably our most clear loved ones turning against you.
Yeah, this is exactly what I had in mind when we came up with this.
Yeah, for sure.
This pillar. So, did the movie poster sell this accurately?
The movie poster is terrible, and the film is good. So no.
Yeah, the poster is really bad. Really bad.
It's amateurish, just like Teenage Zombies is amateurish, and they're vastly different films.
We almost need, there needs to be a little disclaimer like, this is actually a good one on these posters, right? Like,
it's like the marketing team and the filmmakers are 2 different entities. They didn't talk.
Yes.
They just had a title. You go make your poster, we'll go make a movie, and then we'll ship it out together and see what happens.
Yeah. Maybe this movie spent all its budget on like making a good movie. It didn't have any movie left for the poster.
Remember, it said, we dare you to look into the coffin.
Yeah, there's no coffin.
We never
there's a
looked
coffin.
in.
No. And that's okay. So how about I ask you a couple things? Is paranoia a major theme in this?
So I think that it is, although not quite in the your neighbors might be secret communists way that we've discussed in the 50s movies. But Peter is, there's an aura of paranoia as Peter sinks into madness and he starts making mistakes and this just this idea that this very, this handsome young professional man in your town, in your cute town, is a monster. I think very much fits the paranoia theme.
Yeah, and he has a lot of dark secrets. Like his whole life is a dark secret. Yep.
And I do think this movie is playing on that dark side of medical science.
For sure.
Vibe, So I think that we've got a lot of those themes in this one.
Yeah. Have our heroes changed from those 50-year-old middle-aged dudes in the 50s?
So not really, in the sense that these are middle-aged people. I think Brad said all these actors were in their 30s and they look the part. They're not playing teenagers or anything like that.
Though I bet you a nickel, Robert Blood, who looks like he's like 65 or 70 to us, is like 58.
Yes. Yeah.
He was 61.
Okay, there you go.
And this is a movie, by the way, where even like sometimes the 30-something-year-old actors look 40-something. It's just something around the way they dress or their hair or something. But that said, this was, I think, one of the movies with like the strongest like romance subplot. So unlike most other movies we've watched that have featured two people in love, they start the film in love already, or engaged, or even married.
Yeah.
In this one, this is a very modern love story. They meet at the beginning. I mean, Peter is this monstrous serial killer, so that's a problem. But it plays out with the beats of like a more romantic movie where they are slowly falling for each other over the course of different dates and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I want to say that feels like a sign of the times.
And they both have kind of messy backgrounds, right? She's a young widow. He got kicked out of school in Vienna, so they're a little bit of a mess. People are becoming a little more multidimensional.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, will science and sci-fi take on a new role in zombie movies?
Well, there's tons of science in this one.
Yeah.
Medical science specifically. And, I don't know if it's a new role exactly, because we've seen medical science zombies in the past. But this one was like the most detailed about the medicine part of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Like, I was trying to think while watching this, if we've ever, the most suggestive about medical horror that our past movies have done is like maybe to show someone like reaching for a scalpel or something.
Yeah.
But it would always cut away.
I
this
feel
one,
like there was one that got close, which was The Four Skills of Jonathan Drake. But this
Jonathan
one,
Drake, yes. Yep. But this one, we see him clamping open a chest cavity and
sound effects of surgery. And
this is definitely a science heavy movie.
I would add that his lab, unlike past mad scientist labs with beakers and strange equipment you don't know what it's for, everything here is medical. It's IV bags.
Yeah, there's like IV stands.
You don't have to question what it's for. From medicine what it is.
That's a good point. Yeah, at no point does he use a tool or enter a medical space that is different, that is unexpected or weird.
Yeah, there's no like twisting tubes or those like Tesla coil things.
Right. And lastly, do we leave our local roots, the sort of voodoo roots, and transfer to a broader world stage in this?
So we definitely do. So this has nothing to do with Haitian voodoo or Haitian zombies. It's not set in America. It's set in rural England.
Yep.
And it has, interestingly, the ties to sort of indigenous, tribal magic are there in that curare comes from South America and made its way to Dr. Blood through some friends that brought it back from South America, I think. So
yeah, but it's treated like they've chemically solved the problem. You know?
Yeah, and there's nothing like mystical about it. There's no legend of the headhunters who used curare. It's like this is a chemical and it has this effect on the human body when we inject it.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I think it has left those roots behind for the most part. And yeah, I wasn't expecting a good British zombie movie in 1961, to be honest.
I was happy. So let's do the last few questions and then we'll...
Yeah, last couple questions for you, John. All right. Would you and I survive this zombie world?
I don't know. Peter's pretty ruthless. Like, if I were just living in this sleepy British town, I wouldn't suspect him. He could get me.
Yeah. Yeah, he's...
If he can get George Beale, he can get me. George is the town tough guy.
Do you hang out at the pub and appear to be a useless person to society?
I might be that anyway, so like he would definitely get me.
Would he flag us if he met us wandering around on the countryside? Would he flag us as trash to be harvested?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Podcaster. I mean, we're podcasters. That's a pretty. That puts us in the top echelons, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Is this a zombie movie or a movie with zombies?
I have to say it's a movie with zombies, but it's a really good zombie.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, you could do this movie without the zombie. You'd be missing a really delightful final scene, but 98% of this movie does not have zombie in it.
Right.
And lastly, John, do you recommend this movie first, just generally as a movie that's worth watching? And secondly, do you recommend it specifically to our zombie-loving listeners?
For sure. I'm going to give. We've had a couple of back-to-back double no's. This is a double yes.
Yeah, gets a double yes
good movie,
from me too.
And zombie fans would like it, even if it's just the end.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely check this one out. So,
well, how about you, Andy? You're a double yes?
Yeah, I'm double yes on this one
okay.
for sure. Yeah, definitely go watch it.
All right.
And that means it's now time for the scariest part of our episode, which is when we find out from producer Brad what we're watching next. Now, Brad has a shaky track record here at this point because our last 3 movies were Plan 9, Teenage Zombies, and The Dead One. And I think those were all double don't watch 'ems.
You don't think we could go on a good movie streak here? I don't know.
So we've had one good movie. So is this the start of a good movie streak, or was this just Brad toying with us?
Andy, our next zombie film is from April 1961. And here is your poster to dissect.
Please be good. Please be good.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. All right. This one.
Muñecos infernales. Does that mean that means the evil dead?
The English title is Curse of the Doll People.
Oh, okay.
Is Muñecos doll like so infernal doll, hellish doll?
This is a Mexican film.
Yes. And we'll be doing some research on what this means.
Yeah, we'll have to translate this. I do see a word that looks awfully like voodoo in Spanish.
Yes. So anyway, there seems to be some sort of zombie master at the top surrounded by flames. And there are various dolls and sort of scary looking people. One in the bottom right-hand corner is grabbing a woman, and there's somebody who looks like he's got a sword. So yeah, I'm intrigued.
Oh yeah, he's the zombie master is marionetting that guy.
Aha, okay. All right, I'm interested in this movie, Muñecos Infernales.
Okay, yeah. This will be interesting. I wish we could. I have to imagine that's some really lurid text there. I wish we could read it for our listeners. But
I know. All right, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Remember to rate us in your podcast app of choice. That really helps us out. We all also have other podcasts. Andy, what's your other podcast?
My other podcast is Roll for Topic, where me and my co-host Chris talk about topics related to running role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes, and I have a similar podcast called The Splat Book. In the last episode, I described a game I ran at Andy's gaming convention. It was a game about being dwarves in Moria from Lord of the Rings. It was delightful.
How do you say that again?
Moria.
You just had like a little flair to it.
Yeah, you did say that kind of weird. Yeah.
That's how you say it if you're cool. Yeah, I have to. I just ran a Moria campaign, but a dwarf would say Moria. Anyway, what's your podcast, producer Brad?
I produce Multiplex Overthruster, and Javi and Paul are the hosts, and we watch movies from the 80s, and we're just finishing the summer of 83.
All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next time. You've been listening to Zombie Strains. We'll be back next episode to talk about another zombie movie. If you enjoyed our podcast, please take a moment to rate us in your podcast app of choice. Tell a friend. Follow us on Instagram at Zombie Strains. All of this helps like-minded people find the show. See you next time.